as much as we can. We thank you so much. Board members, if you will remember to speak into the mic so that we can have accurate minutes. At this time, we don't have any visitors that have signed up. We don't have any media present. So we'll go on to look at the agenda. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. We're now looking at, is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. We don't have anyone who has signed up for public comment, so we will keep on rolling. For approval, we have Florence One Schools request, SC 5919-350, Schools of Innovation waiver. And we have Ms. Hall, or Dr. Hall, is going to present to us. She's the team leader of federal and state accountability of the Division of College, Career, and Military Readiness.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is C.R. Hall, and I serve as a team lead on the Office of Federal and State Accountability, and I'm here today to present the School of Innovation waiver request submitted by Florence One Schools. As a reminder, South Carolina Code 5919-350 allows school districts to implement innovative and flexible approaches to educating students. Included in your board materials is the Florence One Schools request for a School of Innovation waiver focused on aerospace education. Florence One Schools initially submitted this waiver in November. In December, the South Carolina Department of Education review team met to develop a feedback report. And in January, we held a virtual meeting with the district leadership to review that feedback and address their questions. In February, Florence One Schools submitted revised materials, and these revisions satisfactorily addressed all questions and concerns raised by the review team. I would like to highlight several key components of the waiver request. Florence One Schools plans to partner with Florence Regional Airport to expose students to and train them for careers such as air traffic controllers, pilots, ground logistic coordinators, and drone operators. The district has also collaborated with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Charleston Southern University, and the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics to develop coursework that supports post-secondary pathways. To implement this program, Florence One Schools is requesting waivers from the following regulations and state statutes. Regulation 4350, which is teaching certification. Regulation 4363, CTE work-based certification. 4370, instructional materials. Regulation 43264, instructional hours. State Statute 591425, school calendar. So the Department of Education review team believes Florence One Schools has developed a strong and innovative School of Innovation plan that aligns with the workforce needs in the aerospace industry. Therefore, the review team recommends approval of this waiver and request by the State Board of Education. And thank you. And I'll be happy to entertain any of your questions.
I would like to just make a comment since I'm representing that district.
Yes, sir.
I was involved in this process early on, and I do believe that Florence One has taken seriously the challenge to come up with ideas and partners in innovative schools in order to give more opportunity for the children that are graduating from school but don't want to or are not qualified to go to college. Last year, the year before last, I think we approved the School of Innovation for Healthcare, and the two major medical institutions there, McLeod Regional Health Center and also MUSC, has partnered providing equipment, instructors in the facility that was renovated by Florence School District 1, and that has proven to be dynamic, and they are making great progress and finding lots of interest from the students to come into there, and they serve not just the Florence district, but they also serve the other districts in Florence County. I think the School of Innovation is plugged right in with what's really needed, and also with Boeing being a big employer in that area, it's a good opportunity for those kids to not only get out of high school and be able to get a job in some technical trade, but also to go to an advanced schooling, whether it's in aviation per se or whether it's working towards management or leadership positions by going to four-year colleges, or become a pilot for commercial airlines. So I think it's just a wonderful program, and I hope this board approves it.
Absolutely, very creative.
Thank you. Are there additional questions? I would like to say I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, and I wish they had had that program where I grew up. When I got my driver's license, I would go to the airport, I'm from Virginia, and sit and watch planes take off and come in. So I think it's an amazing program. I'm just saying. I hope it is, and I'm glad that children have all these opportunities. If there are no additional questions, is there a motion to approve the Florence One Schools request 59 under 5919-350 Schools of Innovation waiver?
Richardson, I make a motion that we approve.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Is there a second?
Second, Vincent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. We've made a motion. Is there a second? I've already done that. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Vote by like sign. Thank you. There are none, and the motion carries. Thank you so much. Next, we have a couple of items just for information, and the amazing Kim Mack will come up, and she will present those items. Let me just say, today has been improved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson Jackie Lynn. I appreciate you. And I'm honored to be able to share about school improvement designations this morning and our tiered system of support. And the two things kind of go together. So I'll start with the school improvement designations. We have two categories of school improvement designations. The first one is the federal school support categories, and it is governed by the Every Student Succeeds Act, which replaced No Child Left Behind, which you may be familiar with. But part of this is about identifying opportunities to support students in schools that are underperforming. So ESSA requires the state to look at student performance through two lenses. The first lens is, how is the entire school performing? And then the second lens is, how are specific subgroups performing? And so you'll see on the chart, we have our comprehensive support and improvement schools, and that's the highest level of support that we can provide a school. And how we actually determine whether or not a school receives that designation is that there's three ways to enter. We look at if it's a Title I school and if they're in the bottom 5%. What that really means is we are looking at their report card weighting, what their number is, not what the name is. We look at the number and we say, okay, all of these Title I schools are lined up. The ones that are in the bottom 5% will have this designation as comprehensive support and improvement. Likewise, any high school that does not have a graduation rate of 70% will also receive this designation. And then finally, the third way to enter into CSI is to have a subgroup that has been identified for ATSI, which I'll explain in a minute, for 2 consecutive cycles. So when it comes to the third cycle, this subgroup does not exit the status, they haven't improved, and so that school then moves from a subgroup designation to whole school. The next 2 categories deal specifically with subgroups, and in the handout that you all received, there is a listing of the different subgroups that we use. But the subgroup performance is going to be compared to how a whole school would perform. And basically, what the federal law is saying is if this subgroup was the entire school, it would cause that entire school to be in the bottom 5%. So ultimately, all of these designations really are about trying to figure out who needs the most help in the school and then applying some remedies to support students. So ATSI is looking at subgroup performance that is at or below the bottom 5%. And then our targeted support and improvement, consistently underperforming subgroups, is looking at subgroup performance that is at or below the bottom 10% for 3 years in a row. All right, so We have those federal categories. We pretty much designate those every 3 years, except for that TSI bottom 10%. We do that every year. Our state also has school improvement support categories that started in 2022, and that was with some new legislation. We have these state improvement designations that are looking at report card overall rating. So using the same information from our report card system, but saying, okay, if you are below average or you're unsatisfactory, then you are an underperforming school. And if you've been unsatisfactory for 3 years in a row, then you're a chronically underperforming school. So we look at the school performance, but then we also go and look at district performance and say, if you're a district that has 65% or more of your schools with below average or unsatisfactory report card ratings, then your district is underperforming. So those are our different categories. One thing I do want you to know about our state categories is we look at this every year. And then you can have a state category and a federal category. Now, having said all of that, just so you can kind of get an idea of what this really looks like in our state, our last report card information said we had 1,308 schools in the state, and 639 of those schools have some sort of state or federal, or maybe state and federal designation. And this is why it's urgent for us to really support our schools and districts and really help them approach continuous improvement. Because at the end of the day, we're always going to have a bottom 5% of schools regardless of whether or not we have all excellent report card ratings. There's always going to be a bottom 5%. So just to give you a little more breakdown so you can kind of see, we have our comprehensive support and improvement. We have 55 schools that were identified off of last year's data, 2025 data. And then as you'll see, our additional target support and improvement, all schools, there's 396 total schools that have a designation of ATSI. But I want you to note that they could have multiple ATSI designations, which is why the rest of those lines, if you add them up, is going to be more than 396, because one school could have ATSI for black students, for white students, for students in poverty, as well as students with disabilities, because we're looking at each subgroup's performance. And then if you add TSI to that, it's the same rules. You could have multiple designations. You could have a combination of ATSI and TSI, but just for different subgroups. And basically we're saying, hey, this is where this subgroup is performing, and you may want to think about what strategies to use to help support those students in performing better. And finally, just so you can see, we have 145 below average schools from our 2025 report cards, and 31 were unsatisfactory. And I just want to give you a little data to kind of put it in perspective, because when we first started in 22, we had 74 unsatisfactory schools and 196 below average. And so as we're paying attention and providing the underperforming designation, what is happening is people are saying, hey, we might need to look at our accountability system and figure out how not to be below average or unsatisfactory. So basically, we've seen a drop in percentage. In 22, we had 6% of our schools in the state that were unsatisfactory and 15% that were below average. And in 25, we went down to 2% in our state having unsatisfactory ratings and 11% below average. So we are making headway. People are really thinking about how do we provide better instruction for students. And that's going to move me into the second part of our information, and it's about the support that we provide. So when we think about having a designation and all the negative connotations that come with that, we took an approach to say, hey, first of all, these are the state's results. We all own them, and so we're going to work collaboratively to try and support schools and districts. And number one, understanding how schools are designated. And then number two, understanding how you can change instruction and improve outcomes for students. So as you'll see on the chart in front of us, we have different levels of support. We borrowed this from the MTSS model. And we say, in Tier 1, every school and district has access to improvement and continuous improvement supports. You can call us. You can participate in any of the professional development or TA that we provide. It's open and available to every school and every district in the state. But when we get into a designation, we're thinking, we need to specialize the support and really help people understand, why was your school designated? Why is this subgroup coming up on an underperforming list? Why is your district trending towards becoming underperforming, and what can we do to prevent you from being there? So it's really kind of like the whole brush your teeth every night, every morning situation where we want to prevent cavities, and that's what we want to do with school improvement. But when you do get a designation and you move into Tier 3, we're looking at more intensive coaching support. We have our transformation coaches. We have district coaches that work with underperforming districts as well. We provide very intensive TA on continuous improvement planning. How do you plan to improve, and how do you monitor that all the way through the process? And then what we try to avoid, but we sometimes can't, is level 4 or Tier 4, where we're thinking about emergency management or CSI schools that are continuously being identified in every 3-year cycle. And that support looks different. We don't want the same plan. We may actually be saying, hey, we're going to send this person to lead you all. So depending on where that is, we try to meet the needs. And I think what has changed for us is that instead of having 30% of our schools exit CSI, which is the highest level, the last identification cycle, our 22 schools, 89% of them exited CSI. We only have 6 schools out of our 55 that have been identified for CSI before. And to me, that is exactly where we need to be. Helping people understand our accountability system and instructional changes, and how to lead that instruction has been our mantra and the work that we've been doing. Our district transformation coaches, and you'll see in your handout on that last page where there's the information regarding underperforming districts. We only had 2. We started off having 4, then we had another set of 4, and now we only have 2, and one is in emergency management already, and one is in fiscal emergency. So we are working very conscientiously about how to support those districts and make sure that the students in the districts are receiving the best instruction possible. So with that, I am done, and I would take any questions, hopefully, that I can answer for you.
I have a question, please.
Yes, sir.
Are the schools coming to you before? I mean, do a lot of schools consult with you, or do they just wait until you contact them because they've had a weak year?
Well, I think I would say maybe 3 years ago they would wait. Now they're being extremely proactive. We have schools and districts participating in our subgroup support sessions, and we're like, you guys don't have an identification. They're like, oh, no, we're here. We're trying not to have one. So I think as we've partnered with schools and districts, people are being more proactive.
Well, I think that's all important. Yesterday we were talking about this, and my biggest concern is that we wait 3 years to stick our nose in the door. And you're saying that's not the way it is.
No, sir.
We were right there after the first year and trying to help them come up with a plan not to have it 2 years in a row, much less
Absolutely.
3 years in a row.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions? I think a part of it is, and I know y'all may not have anything to do with it, but you don't know if you're on the list until like January. So you've gone, the testing's come in, the school report card has come out in like November, and then it is January when you really know that your school has this designation, and that is tough. But it's probably why schools are saying, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing in case my school is going to be on that list. If we could do something to help, that would help school report card coming out a little bit sooner. I'm just saying, and I know these things take a lot of time, and there were a lot of corrections and stuff going on this year, and they're more accurate. But if we could know sooner, then we could act sooner.
Absolutely.
The sooner we would know. So that's just a plug that I promised that I would say here.
And I thank you for that, and I echo that entirely because we know that it's important to get the information. It's already happened.
Half the school year's over.
Right, but we did notify in December. It was embargoed through the first week of January, just so people would have an opportunity to review their data and make sure that it lined up with what they anticipated, so.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you guys provide guidance to some of these districts and you're looking at the academic, data and all that, are you also looking at discipline issues, referrals, expulsions, suspensions, all that kind of stuff to kind of
Yes, sir.
get an idea of the whole school climate for some of these schools?
Attendance,
Absolutely.
all
I
of
think
those
we try to consider all of the mitigating data that would affect a school improvement designation. More so in our CSI schools, we spend a lot of time going through that data. With our other designations, we show schools how to go through that. Also, we have our EdFi technology where people have this data right at their fingertips. And so we really just try to help them figure out what the root cause of their designation. And if it's discipline, then how do you address that?
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Ms.
Thank
Lynch.
you. Appreciate it.
And next, Dr. Austin is coming. And for information, she is giving us the South Carolina Department of Education cyclical review of the 2019 SC College and Career Ready Standards for Social Studies.
Good morning, Madam Chair and
She's
committee.
one of my favorite people, too. Let me say that.
Thank you. I feel the same. Per Section 5918-350A, the South Carolina Department of Education reviewed the 2019 Social Studies Standards as part of the cyclical review process that occurs every 7 years. A committee of educators, parents, business, and community leaders met from October through December and reviewed the current standards and made suggestions for revisions. The review report is provided to you as information as we move forward into the actual revision process. The review panel members were provided guiding principles of best practices in social studies from national and state resources, along with Superintendent Weaver's vision for social studies in South Carolina, highlighting South Carolina's rich heritage, ensuring a knowledge-rich curriculum, and that we lead the nation in civics education. General recommendations are provided in the review report, including examining historical and contemporary evidence to group content and real-world relevance, concise, clear language, while also ensuring rigor and grade level and developmental appropriateness, utilizing action, measurable verbs with resources to ensure the level of mastery expected at every grade level, ensure a vertical articulation of distinct strands, including civics, economics and finance, geography, government, and history, embedding foundational documents, and ensuring that multiple viewpoints are intentionally integrated throughout the social studies standards. Specific grade band recommendations are also provided. This review report, along with the EOC's review report, will be presented to the revision committee for consideration as we move forward in the cyclical review process. Currently, we are reviewing the 304 applications received for the revision committee. Selection will be announced later this month, and the revision committee is set to begin work in April. We anticipate bringing the first draft of the revised social studies standards to the State Board of Education in January 2027. Do you have any questions?
Christy, remind us with the subject areas that are assessed on SC Ready, they are go before the board and the OC on 2 readings each. So
Correct.
the process is 4 months to get them approved. Is that correct?
Yeah, it takes about that long. So the rollout for these standards is 27, 28. So that would be the year that we provide professional development and we prepare like any documents that we need if there's gaps in the standards, but our actual implementation year is 28, 29.
I think it's just important for the board to understand.
Yeah.
While the state board reads them on first and second reading, the EOC does the same. And so that's a lot to maneuver once those are done. So good job.
So we won't see that until January, is that what you were saying?
Correct.
Okay.
304, that's great.
I know. We're very happy with
Social
that.
studies are interested in helping with their standards.
Yeah, we're very excited, and it's really hard to narrow that down, but we are, making sure that we represent the state in the different content areas and including parents, community leaders, and different school.
Did you say how many will be on the committee?
So we originally planned for about 35, but we're at 40 at this point, and we might have a few more because we need to make sure we have that strong representation of different groups.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Austin. Okay, so we're going back to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to place action item 1, and that was a Florence One school request, School of Innovation waiver on the consent agenda? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we place that from Florence One on the consent agenda.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vincent. Is there a second? Thank you so much. I'm Jackie Lynn. How are you? Nice to meet you. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Use the like sign. There are none. Thank you. The motion carries. Is there any other business for this committee?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. You can hear me today, too.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
heard you.
Thank you. The motion has been made to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. Thank you so much. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone opposing? Thank you. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.